Charity thought that Pascal would really work for the cover of Mode magazine because she had this innocent pornographic quality to her. And obviously, come on, affair with a married guy who's like this award-winning author. It's a scandal. Like, oh my God, it's sell, right? Hello, Novels and Bits listener. It's been a minute. Actually, it's been a whole weekend. But it's so nice to hang out with you today. Thank you for stopping by. Right now, I am just starting off this week on a really positive note. Like, positive not really being that I'm following my schedule I'm not actually following the schedule I set up. But I think some things are getting done, so I'm grateful. Woohoo! And the most important thing is getting to have this conversation with you today. So, either ways, Kedu Kime. How are you doing? That was Igbo, like if you're not Igbo, but I think most of us listen are Nigerian, so we actually get Kedu. You get. So, either ways, so cool to have you here today. Okay, so today's story is The Affair. And before we go into The Affair, I talked about it I talked about the blog or what the story is about in the last episode. If you've not listened to the last episode, I think you might want to. It's kind of a summation of all the novels that we've done on the podcast so far. And we also talk about a few of the novels that are upcoming. And there might be also be surprises, but, it just kind of gives a general idea of what to expect and all of that. What I want to say today is thank you. I think I've been so cringy in saying thank you, but I really mean it. Thank you. And I also want to encourage us to just expand ourselves. Like, I think I said something on my WhatsApp status about LGBTQ, about this novel I read, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I didn't read it. I listened to Stephanie Sue's podcast and, she told the story. And I just knew I can't read more novels by Taylor Jenkins. I think that's her name, Taylor Ray Jenkins, or thereabout, or something like that, because of the value she promotes through her books. That's not what I want to encourage. It's enough that I read many romantic stories and I really have to cut down on genres like erotica and all that. But having to read books that promote LGBTQ and all of those things, that's just, no. I'm not going into that territory. I think it's so much easier to talk about these things on the podcast and typing it on my status because I was expecting many people to maybe comment. But then that goes to show that really people don't give 2 cents about you. So just stake out what you want to say. Put it out there. Let it be heard. Let it be known what you stand for. And move on with your life. It means a person of integrity. And let me tell you something. A research actually proves that people like you more when you talk than when you try to fit into what you think is the ideal and what they might like. So better speak up and own your truth. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's it. We've gotten that out of the way. So let's get into today's story. Today's story is The Affair by Danielle Steele. I've known Danielle Steele since I was small, and she's like a pretty lady in her 70s or thereabout who has multiple books that are bestsellers, and this is one of them. And the thing I like about Danielle Steele's novels, like I said in the last episode, is they normally end on a good note. It doesn't end horribly, it has a tragedy. It doesn't leave you with mixed feelings. It's just oh, nice. But then it has this emotional roller coaster. It has a strong value on, family, friendship, honor. I love the values her books promote. So you can expect more Danielle Steele novels to be told on this podcast. Okay? All right. So The Affair by Danielle Steele, a cheating husband. And you've already seen that the main focus of this novel is Nadia. But then who is Nadia? So let's start from the top. And honestly, the thing is, this novel has so many unexpected turns, and there's so much for anyone to learn in this story. So I hope you stick around to the end. Okay, let's go on this emotional roller coaster because that's what it is. Gosh, I think I screamed so many times when I was reading this book. So the story begins with Rose McCarthy, who was in her late 60s and an enigma. Enigma simply means a mystery. Nobody really fully knows all the facets of this woman. She was almost 6 feet tall, always dressed elegantly, and then she had snow white hair that was caught in a chin-length bob. If you don't know a chin-length bob, it's a very popular, elegant hairstyle. If you've seen the Korean Netflix drama Celebrity, it's the hairstyle the female lead wore through the entire drama. So that was Rose's hairstyle. And I think many celebrities only wear that hairstyle, that bob. thing, like it's chin length. It's really pretty. So on top of it, Rose had piercing blue eyes that looked as if it could see everything. She never raised her voice, but depending on her intention, Rose's words could terrify or comfort an employee. For 25 years, she'd been the editor-in-chief of Mode magazine, and she's the reason why the magazine had prospered so much. So Rose had an interesting background. Her father had been a highly respected British historian who's lectured at Oxford University, while her mother was an Italian expert on Renaissance paintings. So her mother had also been the emotional one between the couple. And then growing up, Rose often visited her mom's family in Rome and learned from there to speak fluent French, Italian, and English. Here's the thing, Rose she has aristocrat origins and then as an only child, she was born and raised in London. She attended Oxford for 2 years because, her dad is the lecturer there and he also had to. But then she attended Sorbonne in Paris. Sorbonne is the seat of the Faculty of Science and Literature of the University of Paris. She preferred schooling there. Do you get? So by the time she turned 20, Rose had deep interest in fashion. And when she returned to London, she interned at a well-known magazine. Within months, she met and fell in love with an American banker, Wallace McCarthy. When she was 21, she moved to New York with him, got a low-level job at Vogue, rose through the ranks, and became an associate editor by the time she was 30. That's pretty impressive. 11 years later, she was offered the position of editor-in-chief of Mode magazine, and she took it. She was 41 years old at the time, and 25 years later, now she's currently 66. She made Mode the huge success that it was. It was one of the most influential magazines in the fashion world. Oftentimes, women like Rose might make it in their career, but not in their home life. That wasn't the case for Rose. Her and her husband Wallace, they worked together to build a loving home. Because of her British upbringing, they also proper ways of the English, Rose never mentioned anything that went on at home, at work. She didn't even mention her husband's name, although he was the center of her home life. It's amazing that in the course of her career, you saw how busy it is. We know how they always portray the fashion world, and everything. But in spite of all the supposed drama and scandal and everything the fashion world might bring, in the course of her career, going up steadily, becoming super successful, in the middle of all that, Rose had 4 daughters. She was able to give birth to 4 daughters, raise them, and they were the joy of her existence. It's not that she didn't just drop the children and she did not send them. She dropped them and she was actively involved in their lives. But she hardly mentioned any of these things at work. Normal, she did maternity leaves after she born each of them. But whenever she returned to work, she was as slim and stylish as ever, ready to focus on the magazine, as though nothing had happened. Yeah, some people are strong, they are strong. Unfortunately, Rose's husband passed away 4 years ago, 4 years before the timeline of this novel, right? And he had just been sick for a short time. So it was just so sudden. And they've been married for 40 years. The only person who knew how devastating this was on Rose was her assistant since her Vogue days, Jen Morgan. And because she knew something of Rose's personal life and how close she was to her husband and how crushed she was feeling and everything. That was the only person at work who actually really knew that this entered Rose's body well. So her husband's passing increased the bond Rose had with her daughters, her 4 daughters, as well as her commitment to her career, which kind of became her refuge. Her husband was dead, her daughters were all grown up, leading their own lives, so it made sense to dedicate her entire self to her work so that she wouldn't feel lonely. So the September issue was coming up, the September issue of Mode magazine, and it's published annually and it's usually the most coveted issue year after year. Collectors actually turned Mode's September issues into an item of collection. It was regarded that much of a big deal. So Rose was a fashion legend. Let's talk about her personal sense of style a bit. Normally, Rose usually wore black, but she always wore a touch of color with it. If not, then an eye-catching accessory, like a ring she found at an Asian dusty jewelry shop in Venice, a bracelet from a Moroccan bazaar, a scarf or a pin. She always just and occasionally she would surprise everybody by wearing a strong collar. You could never quite imitate Rose, no matter how you tried. But obviously, people used to try. And the September issue was regarded by many women as Rose's statement on what the styles of the winter season would be. So they would switch up their wardrobes based on this Mode September issue. So normally, Mode used to work on any of their issues 3 months ahead of time. But for the September issue, they used to start even earlier, because they know the hype that this is. So they honored that hype. They put in the necessary work. So for the meeting that day, like they were trying to discuss, the September issue, some of the details. So they wanted to decide who would go on the cover of the September issue. The three options they already had seemed bland. Like one, the first lady who was like in her 60s and boring, and two other people. The options are just not freaking. Rose wanted a cover person that would just grab the reader's imagination and make a splash. It was Charity Bennett, a 40-something-year-old senior stylist at Mode, that spoke up. A little about Charity. Charity usually had new and experimental ideas that were often daring. Rose liked it because her ideas helped the magazine stay trendy. And Charity is like the youngest person on, like, let's say the director's board, at least when you talk about the big guys in the magazine, like the big team, the executive team, and those who decide and everything, like Charity is the youngest person in that circle at 40-something years old. So that's to tell you that obviously most of these guys on this set, they're like well experienced, they're fashion, like they're really seasoned fashion people. Yeah, so normally the reason why they like Charity on the team, like I said, had new and experimental ideas that added spice, helped the magazine stay trendy. But sometimes Charity can tend to go too far, so Rose kind of checkmates her sometimes, because obviously Mode is a respectable magazine, not some tabloid nonsense. And the person Charity was suggesting to go on the cover of the September issue was Pascal Solon. Pascal was 22, drop dead gorgeous, and she'd won numerous awards at the Cannes Film Festival that just held. On top of that, Pascal was having a public affair with Nicolas Bateau, who wrote the book that Pascal's most recent film was based on. This guy was 42, and they were a spectacular couple in Cannes. They came out as a couple in Cannes, displaying public affection. It didn't matter that Nicolas was married. Now, the thing is, Nicolas was a best-selling French author, and for the film that Pascal starred in, he was also co-producer and director. He'd coached Pascal in his spare time to bring out a brilliant performance from her for such a tough role. And it worked because the film really did well. Pascal really did so well. Anyway, Charity thought that Pascal would really work for the cover of Mode magazine because she had this innocent pornographic quality to her, and obviously, come on, affair with a married guy who's like this award-winning author. It's a scandal. Like, oh my God, it's sell, right? Especially in Hollywood and all of that. So Rose's response was, she's a possibility, like Rose had to say calmly. So Charity knew better than to argue with Rose. If Rose wasn't on board, it was a close case. But she did try to push a bit, suggesting that, hey, if you don't pick Pascal, Vogue would. It was what Charity normally did. She tried to push Rose beyond the line. But in this case, Rose didn't comment, and that was a warning sign to back off. And when Rose finally commented, she said that Mode couldn't base their interest in Pascal on her affair with a famous writer. Besides, this whole affair would even be over before the September issue came out. It would be old news. But not if the scandalous couple were expecting a baby. Charity chipped in. Although it was the first time Rose was learning about the whole affair fiasco, she kept her calm. Like, you would see why I'm saying she kept her calm, because this guy who's having this affair is not a distant person to her. She's learning about his affair, this very scandalous, stupid thing he's doing at work. And this is someone in her pet. The Nicholas person is someone who's part of her private life that she doesn't bring to work. And she's learning about this guy's private thing going so public while at work. And she has to keep her calm. So that is what's going on. And so the thing is, obviously, like I said, Charity helps Mode stay trendy. Before Charity came to work for Mode, she was working for a French fashion magazine. And if you know, anything French is usually salacious, overhyped, like they have that reputation. Do you understand? So oftentimes, French fashion magazine is not really far from tabloid journalism. So that's why Rose had to tell Charity, see, you're in America, and Americans don't like men who cheat, unlike the French. I mean, Americans might make for buzzworthy news, but in the long term, it's like you're hurting your wife and your children. And Americans don't like men who cheat. Actually, it's more of a French thing. That's part of the French culture. The team had to just like put whoever is going to be on the cover on hold. We don't know that yet. They had to continue with other details for the issue. But as the meeting was about to end, they still hadn't decided on who would be on the cover. And Charity was just like, she's just adding random things. Like, I'm pretty sure that this is not Nicholas's first time cheating. Like, this guy that Pascal is with, like the young actress, the 42-year-old writer guy, that she's sure this is not his first time. It's not the first time he's cheated. And besides that, she can't even remember who Nicholas is married to, but she's like someone ordinary, maybe a writer, a journalist or something. Rose had to be like, Nicholas is married to a well-known interior decorator and they have young children. So as soon as Rose stepped into her office, she asked her assistant Jen Morgan to hold her calls for about 20 minutes because she needed to make a confidential call. It didn't matter that a mountain of mail and several things to attend to were waiting for Rose. She put everything on hold. Who did she want to call? Now, Rose knew her daughters well. So it's her daughters she wanted to talk to, at least one of her daughters or all of them. In any case, she was just like, she now started going through her head. Okay, her third daughter, Olivia, was recently appointed a Superior Court judge at 39 years old and she'll be busy at work. Olivia was married to Hallie Foster, a federal court judge who was 21 years older than she was. He was one of her law school professors. They had a 14-year-old son, Will, and generally Olivia's family were serious and conservative. So her oldest daughter, Atina, was 43 years old. She was a TV chef and author of vegetarian cookbooks. Atina was never Rose's first choice to call with a problem. It was because Atina was the sort of person who often said, oh, everything will be all right. She had this laid back attitude about life. Everything will sort itself out, even though it's obvious that it would not. So it's kind of frustrating to talk to someone like that when you really need to sort out a problem. And Atina had a partner, Joe Tyler, who was 5 years younger than she was a chef too, with his own successful restaurant. They'd been together for 13 years and didn't plan to get married. They just lived together with their 4 dogs that Atina called her babies. They didn't want children. Okay, people's choices. Let's move on. The other person that was left to call was her second daughter, Venetia, a stunning, successful fashion designer with a 14-year-old fashion business. She was 41 years old. Like, you will know, definitely, Venetia is Rose's daughter, but they're different because Venetia has a weird, crazy fashion sense compared to her mom. Her mom's one, who's more elegant. I mean, Venetia's one looks stunning on her, but it looks crazy. Like, so that's it. So Venetia was the kind of person who always took time to listen to her sister's or mother's problems, no matter how busy she was. And honestly, her life was a moving tornado. I think Venetia is my bias. Like, out of Rose's 4 daughters, I like Venetia the most. I don't know why, but I just like Venetia the most. So only a year after she launched her business, like Venetia launched her fashion business, she was featured in Mode and the Wall Street Journal. Venetia was as tall as her mother, like really tall. And then she's married to a man who was taller, dark-haired, green-eyed, and movie star handsome. Who gets that lucky? I know who. Venetia. So Venetia had children, 2 boys, Jack and Seth, and a girl, India, who inherited her mom's creativity. And Venetia's New York townhouse usually looked as if a bomb had hit it. She was balancing work, marriage, and motherhood. But this is also someone who can make time. With all this, her life being like this moving tornado thing, she still makes time for her mom and her sisters if they need her at any time. Like, she's just freaking awesome. So the moment Venetia's assistant answered Rose's call, Venetia came on the call a few minutes later. Rose told Venetia that she just learned about Nicholas's affair in a meeting. Venetia said she saw it on the cover of a tabloid when she went shop for groceries. The deal here is this. Nicholas was Rose's son-in-law. Like, obviously, I think you might have guessed this, but if you haven't, because when I was reading this book, I didn't read the blurb first, so I actually didn't know this. But the Nicholas that they're talking about, oh, he's with Pascal, he's probably having a baby with her, they've been having an affair. That friggin' guy is married to Rose's last daughter, Nadia. That year, Nadia had been busy installing a house in Madrid because she's a fashion interior decorator. So she hadn't been available to go with her Nicholas to Keynes. And Venetia truly hoped, because Rose and Venetia are talking right now. Venetia was like, I truly hope that Nicholas didn't have an affair and he didn't really get a young woman pregnant, like a much younger woman pregnant at the expense of Nadia, my baby sister. I just hope that all of this is not Hollywood hype and promotion for the movie, nothing real. Like, that's what I'm hoping right now. Me too, at this point, I'm like, please, I hope that's the truth. But then we've seen the title of the novel, The Affair, so we know that is wishful thinking, but we can still hope. So they knew for a fact, like, all of them in the family, Rose, Venetia, even the Nadia he's married to, they all knew that Nicholas, he's a fine boy. I mean, he was a flirt when he was much younger, but come on, he's been married to their sister for 11 years, been with her 16 years. This is crazy. We're still going to find out more about the couple in a bit. But the thing is, definitely, Nicholas is a known flirt. Like, I rather was a known flirt as a younger person. And another thing is, affairs were a part of French culture, still are. Like, to the French, okay, you're having a threesome or you have like extra sex partners. They don't really raise their brows so much because it's like, oh, But please, not Nadia, because that's definitely not what Nadia would want. So Rose wanted to confirm if the rumors were true from Venetia before calling Nadia. Like, did Nicholas really do this? Venetia didn't know. She just saw it in the tabloid. She didn't know for sure. And because the reason why Rose wanted to confirm this is she didn't want to upset her youngest daughter over nothing, if that was truly the case. So look at a bit of Nadia and Nicholas's love story. Like, Nadia met Nicholas when she attended Sorbonne, the same Sorbonne her mother attended, like a school in Paris. He was 6 years older. And after her junior year, Nadia remained in France instead of returning to America. She wanted to stay with Nicholas. Nicholas wanted to be a novelist, although he was studying political science at the time. Nadia never returned to live in the States. Instead, she got a job as an intern for a fancy decorator after she graduated college. So Nadia and Nicholas dated for 6 years and had been married for 11 years. She was 25 when they tied the knot, and he was 31. They had their first daughter, Sylvie, a year after the wedding, and Laurie came 3 years after. Like French girls, Sylvie and Laurie, French girls. So Nadia was 36 years old. So you can see she's young. 36 is friggin' young. And oh my God, you need to hear how Nadia sounds, like the kind of person this woman is, this woman you're cheating on. And the caliber of woman you're cheating with, like, okay, let's just go on. So Nadia was 36. She had her own successful interior decorating business. And Nicholas was able to make the transition from political journalist to biggest best-selling novelist in France with the help of Nadia. And Nicholas also had aristocratic roots like Rose. So I like the fact that, this is not a story of grace, of grass to grace and stuff like that. Like, most of them in this novel move in similar circles. They're all kind of wealthy, well-to-do. Rose's family Rose has aristocratic roots, much like the man her daughter married. So nobody is lesser than anybody in class. Do you understand? Because I think sometimes, in as much as we all like the story of grass to grace because it helps us dream, but in the world we live today, if you want to be part of that circle, you have to work your way up to it and get inside. You don't have to stay around wishing and hoping for someone to come pick you up and turn your life around. I mean, none of us really think of that like that anymore. If you still do, okay. I mean, it could happen for you. Okay, you could be one in a million it happens for. That's great. But most of us just kind of make the action happen. We just kind of go there. We kind of seize it. You understand? So that's just it. So now Nicholas's parents passed away in an accident not long after he married, and he inherited everything. And his parents were quite well-to-do. And Nicholas was also doing really well for himself. So that makes Nicholas an extremely wealthy person. And part of the things Nicholas inherited was a chateau, basically a castle in Normandy that Nadia had helped him to restore. So Nadia was the quietest of Rose's daughters, but she's very confident. Her quietness doesn't mean she's less confident compared to her older sisters. Her clients loved her for her gentle ways and good taste. And the houses that Nadia decorated, many of them appeared on the covers of the best interior design magazines. So Rose had always imagined that her youngest daughter had a perfect life, a happy marriage, sweet children, and passionate love between her and her husband. Rose actually likes Nicholas. I mean, the guy is charming. He's talented. He has 5 bestsellers. And the movie, this Pascal girl that he's having an affair with, this Pascal girl starred in, which is the second movie based on one of his books. He had everything. So why was he breaking the heart of his sweet wife? So Rose finally just mustered courage. She called Nadia, who was in Paris, and then she now gently inquired concerning the rumors. Unfortunately, it was true. Nadia blamed herself, like, oh my God, I've been working too hard. I allowed Nicholas to get carried away. Wait, what? How does him doing that have anything to do with you? She's just like, oh, I understand why Nicholas fell for her. Pascal is a beautiful girl. Rose had to be like, and you are beautiful too. Yes, Mom, remind her. Nadia was the only dark-haired beauty in her family. Her older sister, Tina, the 43-year-old one, and the immediate elder sister, like Olivia, the superior court judge one, the superior court judge one. Both of them are blondes. Why Venetia, my favorite sister, the second sister, she's redhead. Nadia and Olivia were shorter than their sisters. So Nadia is like shorter than, probably 5'7", because her mom is tall, 5'11", 6 feet. They're really tall. But Nadia and Olivia are shorter. They're shorter don't mean they're short. They're tall, but just not by the standard of the rest of their family members. So Nadia had Rose's blue eyes and creamy white skin. So her sisters often used to comment, "You resemble Snow White." So Rose had to ask for more details. Like, what the hell? Tell me everything. Nadia, she trusted Nicholas completely, as you're supposed to trust your spouse, and she only learned of the affair when it came out on the tabloids after Kate. Unfortunately, because Rose had to inquire, was it a one-night slip? She's like, nah, it was a full-blown affair. It's not like Rose found one-night stands acceptable. It's not. But it's just like, it's to her, it's better than serious affairs. Like in Rose's marriage, like this, her 40-year-old marriage she had with her late husband. Neither her or him had ever cheated on the other person. They'd been faithful to each other to the best of her knowledge. You get, like, she'd never have to deal with infidelity in her marriage. And the thing is, Nicholas told his wife, you're telling your wife, I am confused. I don't know if I'm in love with Pascal or if I'm infatuated, but I don't think it's serious. What am I supposed to do with that information? He promised to get out of it, saying, I love you, Nadia, and I love our daughters. I don't want to leave you, but can you just give me some time? So he just expected Nadia to sit and wait. The nerve of him. Can someone shoot him in the head? I beg. So Rose recognizes Nicholas's behavior as that of an only child who had been indulged and spoiled in his youth, which is what Nicholas is, an only child. So this was an extreme degree of it, though, at the expense of her daughter. Rose asked if Nicholas had cheated before. So Nadia had to be like, oh, he did so once when I was pregnant for Laurie, like our second daughter. At that time, he was panicking that his book wasn't doing well, the book that just recently came out, and that he'd be the father of 2 children. And he's cheating. The annoying thing about Nicholas's cheating is that it's not like you sleep with somebody one day and it was a mistake, and maybe you slept with the same person another time again. It's like it's usually a full-blown affair that will continue for a while. You're sleeping with somebody consistently. Do you understand? But because this one now, the affair he had as of that 8 years ago or thereabout, it went on for a month straight with his editor at the time. Obviously, he changed editors after that and everything. So I get the whole talk about forgive. No one is perfect. Save your marriage. Do you understand? But if you can't, that is if you can take pain, stay. If you can't, like me, please, you have to be content living on your own and making the most of your life alone. Because what is this nonsense? 8 years later, the cheater is at it again and on a much grander scale. Please forgive me for sounding so judgmental. I just don't like cheaters at all. I hate them. So Nicholas's affair with Pascal Stallone started on the movie set, went on throughout the entire filming, and is still continuing. Because what is this? If they had been affectionate at Keynes, the affair is still on. And that he had lost himself. Do you understand? And Nadia is now feeling like a fool who didn't know that her husband had an affair. And she found out after everybody else found out, or at the time everybody else is finding out. So Nicholas had according to him, he just lost control of himself at Keynes and revealed to the whole world he was in love with Pascal. Pascal was a big star. Everybody's already talking about her film. This is someone who does frontal nudity in her movies. She is fine, like she's as fine as sin. Everybody's already talking about her. And then you're now having an affair. So you cannot escape it. And you too, a popular fine writer. You're in your 40s, you're hot as hell, you're rich. Then we talk. Do you understand? Even me, I will talk like, where did these two fine people find each other? But then the thing now is everybody's romanticizing it. But it's an affair and it's wrong. Do you get? So tell me the truth. If you were in Nadia's shoes, is there any salvaging of this matter left to do? Like, Nadia loved her husband. He was a good husband. He's a wonderful father. So look at what she told her mom. He's upside down at the moment. It's like he forgot he was married. And the press is all over him because they're both so well known. People do that here, like in Paris. They have mistresses and affairs, and women do it too. Usually, they're disenchanted with their marriages. He says he isn't. He just couldn't resist her. Nicholas is very clear that he doesn't want to leave me for her. Then Rose now had to turn around and said, okay, you've answered. You've answered what you want to answer. Now do you want to leave him? In her eyes, like in Rose's eyes, Nicholas was indulging himself and making a sappy excuse to prolong his affair. Nadia didn't want to lose him or give up on her marriage, but she also didn't want to wait around for him to conclude his affair, whenever that was. I mean, you just got found out, but you still can't end the affair? Wow! Nadia was hurt and so sad. She had friends in Paris who had been in similar situations, and they often didn't get divorced. Like, they know how they used to accommodate themselves now, French people. Nadia's daughters didn't know of their father's affair yet, but Nadia was convinced that someone would eventually tell them because their father is famous. So Rose lashed out at Nicholas, like, obviously, like, we're talking to, me and her and Nadia talking, but she's like cussing out Nicholas, like, he should have been cautious with this affair thing since he knew his status, that he's well known. So Nadia is like, Mom, I think it's not that I think, Mom, he feels terrible about it. Seriously, why are you defending him? Why are women in love so friggin' stupid? Whose bed is he lying on tonight? Pascal's. Which woman is he exchanging body fluids with that night? Pascal. And you're feeling sorry for him. Are you stupid? Oh my God. So Nadia just wanted the affair to be done with so she could have her life back. Nicholas wanted to take his own time to get out of the affair. He wanted to take his time. And Rose was royally pissed. She felt like a lion, like a mother lion, and someone had just hurt one of her cubs. But she still didn't scold her daughter for being weak. At this point, you never blame the victim. I mean, some people would start calling Nadia stupid, but I don't think that's right. The whole thing is sudden. She loves her husband. She doesn't want to break her home. I think those traits are admirable. Do you get? So Rose had to suggest to Nadia, do you want to come over to America? Like, you want to come over to New York with your daughters for the weekend? Nadia is like, I don't want to do that. Or the press would say that I'm getting divorced from Nicholas. So Rose is like, okay, I'm just going to come to Paris for a weekend instead. So as for Pascal being on the cover of Mode, Rose didn't want it, because it won't be promoting the right values. It's not just about this girl is her daughter right now, the person affected, but it's also a matter of we're promoting the value of affairs and cheating, and but that's not entirely in her hands, because it's still what would be the best thing for the magazine. Obviously, there's a team deciding all this, a board and stuff. Do you get? So Nadia cried her mom over the phone and everything, and Rose just wanted to strangle Nicholas. She comforted Nadia and said she knew people whose marriages had survived worse than affairs. That if Nicholas could just get out of this affair now, everything would be fine. But here's the problem. Nicholas was obsessed with Pascal. He was so in love with her, and it wasn't going to let up anytime soon. So Rose called Athena by 8:30 p.m. like when she got home, because she spoke to Nadia while at the office. But when she got home, she called Athena, her oldest daughter. Athena sounded relaxed and happy as usual. The thing about Athena is that she's bigger than her sister. She has more body, but she did not have any qualms with it. Her sisters had worry about their weight and size more. Athena does not need to send anybody. She was nearly her mother's height, and with voluptuous curves, like thick and fine and full. I mean, he would have bashy kind of bodies. So Athena was popular for her unorthodox theories and easy-to-follow recipes. So she had wanted to become a chef since high school and studied cooking in Paris, Barcelona, Rome, and Milan. You get Europe people. This alone confirms to you that Rose's family isn't normal. Like, they have money, or rather, they're really well-to-do. Because I think somewhere in the novel, they made this reference to the fact that Rose, like, the girls didn't grow up being ultra-wealthy. They just grew up being ultra-comfortable. And they were lucky to buy a property, to buy, a house, to own a house in a place that wasn't so expensive when their father bought a house there. But it became a super expensive neighborhood in the course of their growing up. They get. So, while on the phone with her mother, Athena would still talk to her dogs. Athena is the kind of person that if you want to have a conversation with her, be ready to have a 3 or 4 way conversation, because it could be between you and her and the dogs, and then or the workmen or the people delivering groceries. So unlike her sisters who all had children and did not like dogs, Athena had dogs and wanted no children. She had like four dogs. So Athena suggested therapy for Nadia and Nicholas. She had done that with Joe, her partner, when they started fighting over the restaurants. So Rose didn't see it working out. That she didn't see therapy working out for Nadia and Nicholas, because Nicholas is French and he's not really keen at that moment on breaking off his affair. So Atina just said, I'm just going to text Nadia and invite her over for summer, because summer was close by at this time, the summer holidays. As for Olivia, the superior court judge, when her mother finally called her at 9 p.m., around 9 p.m., her opinion was very straightforward. Nadia should divorce him immediately. The thing with Olivia is that she saw life in black and white. She even treated her 14-year-old like an adult. Olivia had this narrow perspective. She was really tolerant of people with a point of view different from her own. She assumed that most normal people should be conservative like her. Her and her husband, Harley, suited each other well. They'd met and fallen in love in law school, like when Olivia was in law school. The guy had one of her professors. And Harley had been married and widowed years earlier before meeting Olivia. He didn't remarry until her. Their son, Will, was a straight-A student whom they were very proud of. Rose actually worried for Olivia because she's like, how can you have such rigid ideas? You're so rigid and you're so young. And then she used to worry for her grandson, Will, because he just seemed too compliant and accommodating. Rose used to often imagine, are you sure there's not a persona he's putting on to please his parents? Are you sure he's not something else outside? They get, but we'll find out more on that. Unfortunately, in June, after some time after, this whole news came out and everything, and Rose was trying to make sure that Pascal won't be on the cover of the September issue, she lost the battle. Like I said, it wasn't entirely in her hands. So she just called Nadia and warned her, this is going to happen. Pascal is going to be on that cover. The reason why most people were just still, most people in the office were just so happy that, yay, Pascal will be on the cover. Oh, doesn't it sound so romantic that she's with this guy? I mean, they look good. They look so good together. So Rose would just be like, okay, if both these two people were less physically attractive, maybe it would matter more to people that this man actually has a wife, that he actually has children, and he cheated on this wife and fallen madly in love with someone else. Do you get? It's the kind of things that people promote just for whatever reason. So Nicholas was living out every man's fantasy to taste a forbidden fruit in the form of a beautiful seductress and to have a wife at home to meet his more practical needs. Within days after it was decided that Pascal would be on the cover of the September issue, she publicly announced her pregnancy. Dun dun dun! What it meant was that Nicholas was not leaving her side for a long, long time. Should Nadia still stay with him? Reason it. Should she? So we're going to finish this gist on Thursday. I was thinking we'll finish it today, but I found out that just in the first 100 pages of every novel is the toughest, because you're trying to build a background so that you don't lose the person you're gisting to. But, the last 400 pages of the book or whatever is usually easy because some things are repetitive and you can just gloss over some things and get straight to the gist. So we'll finish this gist. We'll find out if Nicholas actually had sense, or did he have sense after Nadia left him, or will Nadia actually leave him? What will be her decision? We'll find out the just ripple effect of this affair and how Nadia coped and everything else that might have come out of this. So let's meet up on the next episode on Thursday and finish. Thank you everyone who's left ratings on Spotify and Apple and left a review. Please, if you're listening on Spotify, you can also on the Q&A section just leave a thought on what you thought of the episode. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate this, and see you next time.